His father is devastated, emotions raw. He says his son was so full of life and love, and now he's gone. We are in one of those employee lots, and you can see behind us here that you need to present your employee badge in order to leave the parking lot. Allison was parked right at pump 7 over there. She was captured on that surveillance camera, and you can see here tonight a poster on the door asking for the public's help finding her. Just got an update from fire officials. They tell us 41 people were displaced in this. Two very different sides to this story. Durham Public Schools have reinstated the teacher here at Eno Valley. That he used a crowbar to get in, but what he failed to notice was the surveillance camera overhead. Also, police still not identifying the man killed here tonight or the driver. So we decided to see how long it would take us to get there. So we got in the car, put the key in the ignition, and took off. And we arrived some 20 minutes later. Keep in mind, we didn't have to contend with rush hour traffic. Well, actually, I'm in the back seat. My photographer, Lauren, is riding shotgun at the moment. I am with Dwight Collins with Pristine Turf Management. State Highway Patrol, again, confirming this was indeed a fatal accident, that a woman, a passenger in this SUV, was killed, that the male driver was seriously injured and rushed to the hospital. I'll get out of the shot so you can get a look at that SUV that was involved here. In the last 2 minutes, State Highway Patrol confirmed to us that it was the father of the driver that came upon this accident and that actually called for help. We're told he came upon the accident around 3:25 this afternoon, that he saw this overturned SUV on private property and called for help. To give you an idea of where we are, this is mostly cleared land back behind Mount Pleasant and Sunset View Court, so this is not impacting traffic at all. State Highway Patrol says the pair was going for a joyride sometime today, that the man was driving recklessly and alcohol was a factor. They say when authorities arrived, again, the female was dead, the male driver injured. They say the pair was in their late 30s. Authorities still trying to determine exactly how this accident happened, exactly how long they were out here. State Highway Patrol confirming that the driver in this case is likely to face charges. What those charges are at this point is not clear. We also have not received the identities of either the driver or passenger, but it's a story we're going to continue to follow closely, and we will have more tonight at 11 o'clock. For now, we are live in Willow Spring. I'm Amy Cutler, CBS North Carolina.
All patients had received follow-up.
That was former Cumberland County Health Director Buck Wilson assuring county officials and the public that all patients tested as part of the Breast and Cervical Cancer Control Program, or BCCP, had been notified of their test results. Now a new, more in-depth audit refutes that. After requesting reports from the lab the county contracts to run the tests, between 2011 and 2015, 160 women with abnormal cervical screenings were identified. So why expand the review? Well, the audit committee says the former BCCP program coordinator, the one who was fired in part for failing to notify patients in a timely manner of their test results, was also responsible for notifying patients at the family planning clinic and the maternity clinic. According to the audit, 8 patients from the family planning clinic had no information in their charts to indicate they were ever notified. For another 21 patients, a notice with the test results put in the mail came back. In all, 29 women never received notification of their abnormal test results.
For them not to follow up with these people, it's putting their lives at jeopardy.
CBS North Carolina included in that audit. It was our report that led the county to investigate. The latest review finding that none of the 160 patient records reviewed were handled in accordance with policy. Some patients didn't receive enough follow-up by mail. Others weren't told that additional testing was needed.
If that's what's going on, they need to do better.
The internal audit director says they've begun notifying all 160 patients and that she'll be observing the process. In Fayetteville, Amy Cutler, CBS North Carolina. She is livid, not only concerned for her son, but also angry at this teacher because she tells me she told her not to do it. And that's why she came here to the police department, hoping criminal charges will follow.
a substitute teacher said, you know, I can put him to my breast and breastfeed him.
Casey Oxendine says her 3-month-old son was constipated, that this substitute teacher at the Carborough Early School told her breastfeeding the child could help. Oxendine works at the school as a pre-K teacher. She tells us the teacher made the offer twice, but she was very clear in her response.
I said, no, absolutely not. Like, that's nasty to me.
Oxendine says moments after she left the room, surveillance video captured that teacher lifting up her shirt and putting the baby to her chest. It happened Friday.
I was in shock at the video. It was very unbelievable, unrealistic. I didn't find out until after she was gone.
The director of that daycare, Darren Council, telling us an employee reported the incident to him and that he in turn alerted the State Department of Health and Human Services. Council says the teacher involved was licensed and had more than a decade of experience in child care. He tells us the teacher is no longer there. Oxendine telling us the teacher was fired. Following the incident, she says her son became sick and she took him to the ER to be checked out.
He's highly lactose intolerant. He can't have any milk-based products, any milk, anything with milk in it. So for you to not only go against my wishes, but also put something in my son's body that may cause harm to him, it's assault.
Certainly a lot of concern. Now, we obtained a copy of that police report. I also checked in with police in the last half hour. They tell me this remains an ongoing investigation. We also took a closer look at the daycare and its record with the state. We're going to have more on that for you coming up live at 6 o'clock. Live in Carborough, I'm Amy Cutler, CBS, North Carolina. It really is a picturesque view. This is Lake Lure right over my shoulder, but just above here you can see all of that smoke. That is from this Party Rock fire. Firefighters have been working 12-hour shifts, many of them volunteers, but the fight is far from over.
In this region, this is definitely the largest thing that we've ever seen.
The Party Rock fire has burned nearly 3,500 acres, and at last check was only 15% contained. The State Forest Service taking us into the fire zone this afternoon through the village of Chimney Rock, that normally busy tourist town, under a mandatory evacuation. They showed us how firefighters had worked to protect homes. We also saw how close that inferno had come to the village. These are the kinds of lines of fire that crews have had to contend with. This is right off a main road on Highway 7464, the way you get from Chimney Rock to Bat Cave. The Forest Service saying there are nearly 450 firefighters from more than 100 agencies working round the clock to keep the flames from spreading. Progress has been slow, the ground is dry, the conditions ripe for fire. But officials say this blaze is moving slowly, giving firefighters a chance to clear the brush around homes and stay ahead of it.
There's no way that you're going to be able to go in and cool this fire down when there's thousands of acres involved. There's going to be hot spots, there's going to be areas of fire still within the fire line that could possibly burn for months.
A live look back out here at all of this smoke. You can understand why there are some concerns regarding air quality. The smell of fire is really strong in the air at this point. The governor is saying that they don't know how these fires started, whether they were intentional or accidental, but they say that it does appear to be man-made. Now, there are many challenges these firefighters are facing. We're going to have more on that side of the story coming up for you live at 5:30. Live in Lake Lure, I'm Amy Cutler, CBS North Carolina.
I saw something wrong happening, in my opinion, and I felt like nobody would possibly believe it if I didn't take a picture.
Hannah McMiniman says she took several photos and videos inside the Durham VA hospital Friday evening. They show 3 veterans waiting in the emergency room, one of them on the ground. Their apparent pain hard to ignore, but the McMinimans tell us they were.
No help was offered to really anybody to kind of help their weight any.
Hannah posted these photos to Facebook, and they've since been shared tens of thousands of times. Jesse Lee was one of those veterans.
It really hurt really bad. I mean, one of the worst hurts I ever had in my life.
Lee had a partial leg amputation back in May. The Vietnam veteran suffers from phantom limb pain. He tells us he goes to the Durham VA twice a week, but the wait times that day were hours longer than usual.
I asked them several times if they could do something to help me, and they said I'd have to wait.
It's a picture, And so there's a story before and there's a story after.
Deanne Seekins, the director of the Durham VA, firing back. She says wait times were long Friday because they had more patients than usual. She tells us one of the nurses working that night has been put on leave as they investigate. But after reviewing the surveillance video, she says her staff acted appropriately.
The care that they received is of high quality, and they received it in the timely manner based on their category when they were triaged.
Now, the McMenamins say they hope to see that surveillance video. They tell me they were really surprised by how much attention this has received all over social media, but they say they hope it raises attention of what they call a much larger problem. Live in Durham, I'm Amy Cutler, CBS North Carolina.